I think people are interested in hearing from attorneys about their past experience with hard cases and want to really understand both how cases are won and what are some of the tough cases that we've had and maybe how cases are lost. So this is a story about how we won a case. It was a tragic case where a toddler was drowned just steps away from their front door in an apartment complex that they had moved into recently. And how we won this very difficult case all boiled down to one important witness. The story begins with my client moving into an apartment complex with her mother and her children. And they had found this apartment complex, got a tour, found a great spot, type of apartment that they wanted, and had planned to move in, signed a lease. And the day they showed up, the apartment that they thought they were getting wasn't the right floor plan. And they were given a different apartment in this big complex that's surrounded by a golf course. And the apartment that they originally had was right by the front office, and they were moved to an apartment building in the back that was surrounded by golf holes, and there was no fence dividing the golf course property from the apartments. One morning, after taking her children to school, my client came back to the apartment with her daughter, the toddler, and put on a movie, and they fell asleep on the couch. And she woke up, and the front door was open, her dog was gone, and her child was gone. And she was found shortly thereafter, 100 feet away from the front door, drowned in a pond. And this pond has been there for as long as the apartment complex has been. There was no warning signs. There was no fence in between the properties. And even worse, inside the apartment, there were no locks on the door or chain that were supposed to be there to prevent something like this happening. So either the child somehow got the door open or maybe the dog did. But it was a horrible case. And the whole defense was they were blaming the mother. You're a bad mother, you fell asleep, you didn't do what was right. And it was a very difficult case. All the apartment complex witnesses all blamed the mother. And we were able to show, both through the apartment's own records, that these apartment doors, front doors, were supposed to have chains at the top that a child couldn't reach and a second deadbolt that a child couldn't reach, and this one didn't. So it wasn't safe. But more so important, this golf course had a pond that had ducks and geese and turtles and fish, and all the children in the apartment complex would commonly hang out and play around there. And there was many instances of the apartment resident children being unsupervised by the water, and the apartment complex people knew about it and knew it was dangerous, but they were trying to sweep all this under the rug. So how did we win this case? We found the former leasing agent who first met our clients and got them this apartment and moved them in, and she subsequently took another job somewhere else. And we met with her, and well, first we called her and spoke to her, introduced ourselves, explained what we were hoping to accomplish, and we heard her story, and we asked her a lot of questions about, did she believe that the pond was dangerous, and did she know that kids were playing there all the time? And she basically said everything contrary to what the current employees were telling us. So after we met with her and caught a feel for her story, we created a checklist of all the things that she had told us, and then we arranged to get a video statement from her. And we asked her all the questions, and we had pictures, and she was able to describe the apartment doors and the pond and history of kids playing there, and that it was dangerous and they had problems before. And they didn't tell their residents and that this was a foreseeable event. And finding this former employee who completely destroyed all of the things that the defense lawyers and the apartment people were telling us really made all the difference in the case. And we ended up going to trial. We picked a jury, and before we could finish the trial, both the apartment complex and the golf course settled with us. That was one of the hardest, saddest cases we've ever worked on, and very emotional in talking to the jury about the loss of a child. And nothing makes that right. But with that witness's truthful testimony, we were able to deliver resolution and justice for that family, and that was one of our proudest moments.